Davi here, and today we have a new video in the Art of Davi YouTube channel. And today we'll be doing a quick demo process slash whatever. You know, I do have two playlists on YouTube where I technically do paintings and drawings where you can actually see me do art. So I'm not sure if I should combine both playlists or separate the two, but since I've been getting back on YouTube, I do know that I need to make sure I balance out my educational stuff, especially the art reviews, with actual sessions of me painting and drawing, you know, actually applying what I've learned from my art reviews and putting it into practice. So let me I'm not exactly sure what I should paint or draw, but you know, I do this thing where I sort of pick a brush, usually this one, some kind of brushy brush where I can kind of draw with it, create some shapes via, say, lines or contours, and then pick some kind of grayscale or mid-tone, and then I'll just start rendering the thing. I've done this a few times, I guess, in this channel where I do these sorts of warm-ups. And maybe it's not a warm-up, it's a way for me to not exactly practice, but in a way it's for me anyway, to be honest, it's a way for me to do art without exactly thinking too much. And I think it's becoming a bad habit of sorts because I'm not exactly learning anything new. I'm just being more playful with my strokes, and it feels more like an experiment than me actually trying to create something. And there is an advantage to this. I used to think it was a bad thing. But over time I did realize that I did start to develop rendering skills or painting skills. Even if I couldn't draw or paint things from imagination, I just knew how to play with like the values and forms, especially the edge work, knowing how to blend things, being more confident around the canvas. And I think these types of sessions do help, where you're not exactly trying to create something, and maybe you are subconsciously, but you're not purposely trying to create something, for the most part anyway. There's this idea called automatic drawing. I found this I'll try linking it in the description below, but it's from a video by Proco. He was interviewing this guy, I forgot his name, but the idea of automatic drawing is you just draw what comes to mind, and oftentimes it ends up becoming more like scribbles than anything concrete. And I think I'm kind of doing the same thing here. And the guy did mention that a lot of the great, very creative world building types of artists, where they just come up with all sorts of ideas, they do tend to have this habit of automatic drawing, or you know, doodling essentially, where they just make a bunch of almost random marks. And now obviously it's not totally random, but it's just something that comes up, and maybe it's a result of your habits, of your, you know, subconscious whatever, like biases or inclinations. And yeah, I just tend to do this a lot, and maybe this can help you. I do think this type of session can help you because you learn a lot of things by doing this. What kind of strokes you like making. Because if you're trying to paint or render something or draw something, if you're not having fun illustrating the piece, making those marks, if you're not having fun in mark making, I don't think you're going to. I think it's a bad recipe, because like, what's the point even, right? You want to make sure as you're making the art, you're actually enjoying the process as well. I think these types of sessions where you just paint whatever, I think they're a great way to figure out what works for you. Now maybe once you do a bunch of scribbles, eventually you may find something that you like under all this fluff. Now I do think I tend to do this too. Like right now I can see this part. It's basically a head of some kind, and these are the eyes, the mouth of some kind. So maybe I'll try to refine it. So I'll just pick the white background, color pick it, and then paint over it. I could use the erase tool or hit this transparency kind of thing and use that to erase. You're basically picking a transparent color to, transparent, if you're using transparent as a verb, to sort of erase something with the same brush. But for me, I tend to just use the brush and paint over what I don't like. Now this really only works if you're painting with a flat background. You know, the more complex your background is, the less this is going to be effective. So you're going to have to use a you're going to need to use the eraser, especially if you're using like a lot of layers, like if you're trying to separate a lot of essential parts. Now if you're kind of a one layer type of person, or if you're painting directly for the most part, just learn to paint over your mistakes. So I tend to do this kind of Evangelion head / lizard dinosaur head of some kind. And maybe it's because I have an interest in that. So maybe that's why I tend to do these. Now I do want to explore the neck more. Kind of like this. So this is the actual like neck. And these are like the traps. These right here. This is the traps. And this part right here, I don't like it. I'm going to have to paint over it with this, and then try to separate this part, kind of like this, right? So these types of paintings and sketches are very explorative, and I do recommend just doodling around. But the problem is, I'm kind of mixing different goals here. Like I'm trying to figure out if I should, because I do know I have a natural inclination towards this type of thing. So why not double down on this strength of mine? If this is what I know, if this is what naturally comes to me, or what comes a little bit easier to me, why should I try learning something new? That's sort of the dilemma I have. I'm not saying you should not learn anything new, but oftentimes, since we're the creative types, we tend to think, oh, maybe I should focus, because right now I'm thinking, I want to work on my character designs, I want to draw more people than say creatures or mechs. And I want to really work on my drawing skills, my draftsmanship, because I tend to be more of the painter type of guy. But then again, as much as I want to explore that side of me, like, why am I denying this side of me as well? Like, why do I have to give this up and start something new, I mean, I know you can do both, but even then, like, how much should you do, Should I focus more on drawing, developing my human anatomy, or should I just double down on being a bit more artsy-fartsy and impressionistic? And I've said this a lot in my videos, art reviews, whatever. I tend to be a more impressionistic person, where I'm just bolder with my strokes, very sketchy, very loose. And I think that's where my strength lies, but sometimes a part of me wants to deny that part. Like, I do know it's something that just comes easy, but maybe my mind is just scattered, and it does happen. And I think if you are the creative type, I'm sure you know what I mean. Or maybe you have ADHD or something. Like, shit, I'm using the wrong brush here. But by the way, for me, I did change the undo button. I used the brackets instead of the Control Z. And then I'm using the colon and the, what is it, this thing. Let me just go back here. Basically, if these are the brackets in the keyboard, the two buttons below, that's what I actually use for my, changing the brush size. Do you see how fluid it is? And I do notice I tend to focus more on the head, right? I'm not sure where this is going. Oh yeah, also, maybe it's because I also tend to not use reference. So I tend to be a bit more imaginative and I tend to exaggerate the forms a bit too much maybe. So it's something that I have to work on as well. I always like adding this kind of head. You see this in like dinosaurs, or Evangelion again, like, or kind of like mecha, like especially Japanese mecha. They like adding horns to their mechas or creatures, even when it comes to their characters, like demon horns and such. It's just something that's iconic in a way. Oh, I'm also watching this new anime, Kaiju number 8. So I think there's a recent character, like a bad guy enemy, and in the last scene of the anime episode, they featured the guy, and he did have this kind of horn thing. So maybe this is kind of what's happening. Look at how it's not really that defined in any way, but you just kind of have to go with it. So if you're struggling with your painting, you have to try to be a bit more loose. And it does help if you have some kind of brushy brush, meaning it's not totally tight. Or you know what, I'll try using a round brush next time because this is more of a texture brush. It's for painting, but I don't want to be that guy that says brushes don't matter, because they do. Because if you don't feel good using that brush, you're not going to. Because again, you do have to enjoy the process. And if you don't like the brush you're using, like, so don't believe people who say, oh, brushes don't matter. It does matter. Go on Pixiv, go on ArtStation, look at 2D art or Twitter X. Is DeviantArt a thing? Whatever. Your style is going to be influenced by the type of tools you use, software, and within that software is going to be your brush, your pens, even your erase tools, and obviously your brush tools, right? So, although I do want to showcase once in a while stuff like, using like basic brushes, the round brush or some kind of ellipse brush without texture, because I think people sometimes can get a bit too focused on certain brushes. And how long have we been painting? Shit, 13 minutes all in all, not bad. So I think, what's the point of this episode, of this quick process video, of this demo? As much as you want to enjoy art, because it's enjoyable to look at other people's work, and it's easy to get inspired, but eventually you're going to have to go to your canvas, whether pen on paper, pen to your tablet, and you need to start drawing it. Even if you're not doing anything in particular, my recommendation is to try this concept of automatic drawing, or basically doodling or sketching, where you just go in and scribble something, and then find something. If you find some kind of shape within those scribbles, then try to develop it a bit more. Don't be so tight with it. Just, make it look like a neck, make it look like some kind of eye, and be a bit abstract with it. And I think that's going to give you that extra bit of confidence. Yes, it may not be as detailed. It's going to be more sketchy, more conceptual, but it's going to show you that you can do something. And even if you find, if you come up with something that you want to work on, you can always take that sketch or that doodle or that schematic and you can develop it later on. But I think the point here is if you're getting stuck with watching more people creating their art instead of you creating your own, and it's too imbalanced where you're just consuming instead of creating, you need to just go to your sketchbook, whether traditional or digital, and just start sketching. Don't sketch anything in particular. Let your subconscious take over and just learn to play, learn to have fun. Maybe fun is not the word. Learn to be comfortable around your tools. In this case, it's going to be your brush, or whether it's your brush, your pen, whatever. And just kind of make a bunch of strokes, and it's going to feel like a warm-up, but that's enough to get you started and motivated. So that's it for this quick demo. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.